Hi guys, Newsnight could have had an expert on to discuss the asylum system and immigration, but instead went with Poppy Coburn, who's a journalist, I believe, from the pro-Tory, pro-Reform UK Telegraph. So, of course, she's pushing the typical line from both parties. The way to deal with immigration is to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Here we go again.
In Rishi Sunak's case, stop the boats. Thus far, with Sir Keir Starmer, smash the gangs.
Well, it's because we're bound by this principle of rights, which is outdated and does not work for the modern world. If you want to actually do something, it's got nothing to do with smashing the gangs. It's got nothing to do with one in, one out. You have to leave the Refugee Convention. You'd have to leave the ECHR. You'd have to abolish the Human Rights Act.
Okay.
Well, that's not a country that I would feel very comfortable about. And I think that a lot of people have a very, very deep sense of decency, of compassion and fairness. And remember, we are all non-nationals in every other country on earth. If we start deconstructing the international rules-based order, chaos and some pretty evil things will lie in our future.
Well, you know, you're a human rights lawyer. Sir Keir Starmer was a human rights lawyer. You know him well. You've moved in the same circles. Can you ever imagine him resiling from those international treaties?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. You know, Keir Starmer has been moving very much to the right on the issue of immigration recently. Would he support leaving the European Convention on Human Rights? Ask me about a year ago and I would say no. Ask me today and I'm not sure. So, this whole thing of leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, the way to push back on this is not, unfortunately, to talk about compassion. The pushback needs to be, why do you want to take away people's human rights? Why do you want to take rights away from British people? Because that's what it would do. This needs to be reinforced. There's no point talking about immigration. When people like Poppy would say, we need to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, the response has to be, why do you want to take my rights away? Why do you want to take British people's rights away? That has to be the response. No point talking about compassion. You want to take the rights of British people away. Why do you want to do that? Oh, because we have to stop immigrants. And don't worry, we will have a Bill of Rights like Robert Jenrick has said, or something similar to what Reform UK is talking about. Okay, would you trust Nigel Farage to protect your rights? Would you trust Robert Jenrick to protect your rights? Because that's what you'd have to do. Because if you leave the European Convention on Human Rights, the protections go to the British government. And if Robert Jenrick's Prime Minister or Nigel Farage's Prime Minister, they will be the ultimate arbiter in a sense. Would you trust Nigel Farage with the right? I don't think anyone in their sane mind would. So that's why it's important to have an international court that upholds these things. But the other point I would bring up if I was speaking to Poppy or Reform or the Tories, Denmark, for example, saw more people leave the country last year than the UK. Now, we don't have data for forced removals for Denmark, but the numbers of people leaving as a result of who came in, foreigners leaving, is higher than the UK. But Denmark is a member of the European Convention on Human Rights. So how would leaving that convention increase the numbers of people being removed? And it's not like Britain can't remove people. People are removed all the time. What they're trying to do is they're trying to sell, like with Brexit, we need to leave this international body or we need to leave this court in order to fix some problem. But in reality, what they want to do is they want to strip away protections for British people once again. The focus needs to be on, why do you want to take rights away from British people? Don't talk about immigration. They want to talk about immigration. The response has to be, why do you want to take rights away from British people? Because that's what you're demanding. That's what it would achieve. Who benefits if British people have fewer protections? Corrupt businesses, dictatorships, they're the ones who benefit. Like with Brexit, when it came to protections for the environment, protections for workers, protections for consumers, Brexit was about stripping those away so that corrupt businesses could benefit. I'm sorry to say this, but the argument should not be framed around compassion. It should be around protecting British people's rights. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.